why are we doing this? Are you trying to monitor me? Am I doing anything wrong? Having your goal. What is your goal?
If you don't have KPIs in your business, it's like driving blindfolded. Hey there, welcome to the Offsite Team podcast. As we jump into the new year, it's always hard to change. Everyone's great at New Year's resolutions, but even as change happens, what happens to our KPIs, or key performance indicators? Do those stay the same every single year? And I'll just flat out give you the answer right now. If they don't change, or at least know why some things on them, it can really lead to disaster going forward with your business. I am with my president of the Offsite Team Corporation. How are you today, April?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. It's sunny here. And you know what? Was it 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago that you were in California?
A week ago.
A week ago, we flew you out to California. This is where it's nice. You have a 10-year visa, and you can come to the United States as often as you want. So we quickly just flew you from Manila to Los Angeles for a week of leadership training, and you're bringing that back to our offsite team, not only everyone that works for Howard's Medical, but all the other offsite team members that work for all of the other DME customers out there. You're passing that on, and it was awesome. By the way, I heard from my wife who's down in California this week, it's raining. So you went the perfect week. So hey,
good.
So today we're going to talk about updating your KPIs. So if you don't have KPIs in your business, it's like driving blindfolded. You're like, well, hey, I kind of need to go somewhere, and you have to know what you're shooting for. And this is the great thing about having key performance indicators. Now, if what I'm telling you is new, we do have an episode last year on key performance indicators. Go back and listen to that. Mark, we'll put that in show notes, exactly what episode that is. Or if you really want to dive deep, give me a call and I'll walk you through what good key performance indicators look like for DME, whether you are straight up durable medical equipment, hospice, respiratory, rehab. You got to have something called leading and lagging indicators. But it's one of those things, if you're not tracking the right thing, you could drive in the wrong direction. So I record this in a city, called Yakima, Washington. Well, if I want to go to Seattle, I drive west. If I want to go to east, I drive towards Spokane. And I use that. Everyone's like, well, no, duh. We know east, west, what that looks like. It's the same thing with business. If we want to increase margins, if we want to increase sales, you have your team, and what does that look like and what needs to be done? And we need to monitor that. So, April, now you will have been with us 5 years very, very soon. Have we had KPIs all 5 years that you've been with us?
No. We did not have before.
So you were with us when we instituted them. Tell me about the feeling when we instituted the very first KPIs. What was that like?
Well, at first, at the beginning, since we were not doing it before, it was like, why are we doing this? Are you trying to monitor me? Like, am I doing anything wrong? There's a lot of questions when we started it, because the understanding was that we just complete orders and do this and do that, but there were no, and then I figured that at the end of it, I was like, yeah, it's like having your goal. What is your goal? Having KPI is your goal.
Yeah.
So
it's nothing more than a measuring stick. It's really fascinating. Now, having done this measured for almost 5 full years, it's really fascinating. If you even say we're going to measure something, fear, all sorts of fear come across certain people. And I love to figure out why. I think part of it goes back to when people used to have school. Are you going to get an A or a B or a C? And the fascinating thing is, in business, we're just trying to make money. You're not going to get a grade. I have never looked at your KPIs and said, hey, you get an A or a B. I've said, there is a way to monitor them, and we're not going to get into that today, but April, you and I know how to do that to really cause people to want to end up improving their KPIs week over week. There's a very easy way to do that. Give us a call and we'll walk you through it, and we'll even show you our KPIs, how we go about doing that. It's really, really easy, but we still have to adjust them. Now, it's one of those things, we can adjust KPIs and even change KPIs, because if you look at them and you're not getting the results that you want, well, don't keep doing the same thing. So this is why there is a need for change. We look at all KPIs annually. We consider factors like market changes. We talked about last week. What happens when reimbursement changes? Well, sometimes we use reimbursement to change our company KPIs. Company growth. Our company is planning on expanding. We're starting another location. We use the KPIs to figure out what that looks like, what market to go into, and how that works. Also, in addition to that, KPIs are great for looking at long-term company goals. How many wheelchairs did we sell? What codes are they all? K1s, K4s, K5s? What kind of power, what kind of accessories. There are all sorts of ways of doing this. And this is the cool thing about listening to our podcast is if you need to talk details on procedure codes, hey, we'd love to get into the details with you. So let's first talk about KPIs. As you're working with the offsite team, because you work with the offsite team, I work with the onsite team. So everyone has their own KPIs. I even have my own KPIs. How do you handle that with the team? Is if they decide how they are doing, as you're talking to your team, how does that look, April?
Actually, first thing is when we review the KPI, what I like about that is that it enhanced the competitiveness. Because
competitiveness. You're right on.
Because our KPI is everyone can see, all the team members. So it enhances the competitiveness, and also they're innovating, like they're just thinking
they are
I can beat that, I can do that. So there's a lot of strategies involved when we are discussing about that. Another thing that I like about KPI is that whenever we're talking to our offsite team members, it ensures accountability. So they have their own personal accountability with regards to the numbers, with how they did over the week. And on top of that is that they're just wanting to do more. And it's also another way of better communication.
Can I use the example of your husband, by the way, and what he did fax wrangling with KPIs? Okay, so a little bit of history. How long ago did we hire your husband? Was it 3 years ago? 2, 3, 4? How long was it?
2 years ago.
2 years. And we started him as a fax wrangler. Fax wrangling is a really good first position for certain offsite team members because it gets them really comfortable in Brightree or whatever operating system you're using. And faxes come in, you make sure everything is in the account, and then you push it forward. Where we had previous, several people doing fax wrangling in our company. They did a really good job, way faster than our US-based team members. Well, your husband comes in, granted, he has an IT background. He looks at things and he sees the KPIs and he's like, I can do this better. I can automate some of these things. And I might be exaggerating here, but I literally felt he was doing it 2-3-fold times what the previous fax wrangler was doing. Not that he was doing bad. Your husband knocked it out of the park. Because I think he has an IT background. He's like, well, we always say the same things over and over and over again. So what he ended up doing was figured out a way of automating. And that's exactly what he did. But it improved his KPI. So then the other fax wrangler said, well, why is his number so much higher? And we didn't keep it a secret. We're like, well, if you do this, and then it brought his numbers up as well too. Exactly. And we have seen this across almost every single department is when you publish the numbers and we work as a team, what it allows everyone else to do is increase those numbers, which is the beauty of KPIs. So setting new KPIs, there is a process for setting them. Adjusting existing ones. Let's jump into adjusting existing ones. You've changed standards. Give me an example of one of them you've changed. Don't give the exact numbers because we don't want to give away all of our Spidey secrets. What's something that you've adjusted over time?
So looking at the KPI, what I like about it is it gives you trends. Now, the result from last year will give you trends of how we're doing, and if we feel like we're being complacent, then if we can challenge our team members, then that's one of the goals that we do, to challenge our team members, but at the same time it has to be realistic. So when we're changing KPI, we need to make sure that we're considering those. We don't just change the numbers, I want you to do this. No, it should be realistic. So we use the SMART goal format in order for us to do that, and based on the trend, and that's how we do the decision making, whether or not we have to change some things on the KPI.
Yeah, so you went right where I wanted you to go. You said the SMART goal. And for those that don't know SMART goals, it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And we use that with our KPIs. And very, very important, because you can't just say do good. Well, what does good mean?
Correct.
I don't know what good means, but we know,
Right.
hey, this is how many phone calls we expect. We know this, we know this, we know this. And here's what's interesting. It was 2 weeks ago. Actually, it was last week. One of our leads came to me and was just disturbed. And she's like, Eric, I need to let you know our numbers went down. They went down. Well, it wasn't much, like 15%. She couldn't figure it out. What I liked about it, it wasn't like I was playing a game of gotcha. When you have good KPIs, your leaders will come to you and say, hey, our numbers are off. And so I like, well, really, what do you think happened? And she was just like, I don't know. She thought something had happened. Maybe had someone moved into town, started another DME. Well, it was one of those things. I'm like, well, wasn't last week midwinter break? And in our city, midwinter break, all the kids get a week off of school. There's a lot of doctors in town. When their kids have a week off of work, what do? They leave town. They go to Hawaii. They go down to California. They leave. They take the week off work. And now we don't know exactly, but it was enough of a drop where we're like, you know what? I bet you the result of the numbers going down was the result of midwinter break. And so then by looking at our KPIs the very next week, they popped right back up, and they actually exceeded that. As typically when you have holidays or something like that happens, if you need a wheelchair or a CPAP, you still need that wheelchair or CPAP, but it comes back the next week. Because we had the KPIs, we knew there was nothing to worry about. But other times it might be, hey, there's a competitor moving in, or hey, maybe we're not up to standards on how we answer our phone call. This is the beauty about having KPIs. Now, this episode's all about changing KPIs. How do we know when to change them, April? Or what do you do with your team? Do we always leave them the same? When do we change them?
Number one is if they are not doing well with the KPI, we
Okay.
dive deep into the numbers, and also we check all the things using our tools. We check and see what's going on, what can be done, and what cannot be done. Maybe we put in an unrealistic number at that specific KPI. So it's one of those things to consider when changing KPIs. Now, another thing is when they're always meeting the KPI. So it's also one of those things that you cannot be complacent. Just because they're meeting the KPI doesn't mean that it's really good. You have to dive deep, because as I mentioned, it's probably the number is not challenging enough. So we have to make changes on that.
You know this, but I'm not sure all listeners know this. I'm a track and cross country coach, and I coach athletes. And the way you coach athletes is to understand that to get better, you have to stress them. You have to stress their body. And what this would mean, you go out and you do a hard workout, you go do a hard run. Now, I have some athletes, they'll go out for a run and they start really improving. They're like, oh, I did that hard workout. You know, 1's good, 2's good. I'm going to do a hard workout 5 days a week. And then there's this thing called overtraining. And then their body just all of a sudden gets slower. So to improve fitness, and this actually works in regards to KPIs, and for anyone that gets an offsite team member with us, we'll let you kind of know our rhythm involved with this. But there's a process of pushing, pulling back, and then pushing again. And what we've found is over the course of time, if you're watching this on YouTube, it eventually gets higher and higher and higher. It's not a straight A to Z. You go up, you go down a little bit, but you never typically go below where you were before, and it gets higher and higher and higher. And this is where, now that we've done KPIs year over year over year, we have seen this exponential increase in productivity. And there is a way of doing that, and we have our internal systems of how do we bring someone from here to here. And this is why when we sent you to Los Angeles a week or so ago, that was nothing but leadership work. It wasn't D&E. It was like, how do we grow as leaders? Because it helps us motivate others and lead them. Because where's this going? We want to sell more widgets. We want to sell more wheelchairs. We want to sell more CPAP machines and take amazing care of our customers all at the same time. And sometimes it means changing KPIs or changing standards, or it might give us the ability to understand we need to move so-and-so from this job to this job.
Correct.
Not frequently, but occasionally we've even had to use KPIs to lay people off where we're like, they're just not cutting it. It happened very infrequently, but it has happened, and it makes things really, really easy. In the United States, there's something called D.E&I, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. I am not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But at Howard's, we are an equal opportunity employer. But this is how it relates to KPIs. And I think it's the fairest way. It's all about outcome. What do we want? We are highly Hispanic here in the Yakima Valley. But I don't want to say, hey, we have our white team members, we have our Hispanic team members, we have African American team members. What I'm looking for in our business, we have our Filipino team members, obviously. But what we want how do we take great care of customers? That's really what it comes down to. And I like it because it kind of puts the diversity side, even though we are a very diverse team, it kind of puts it on the back burner because it's not like, hey, you're doing this because of the color of my skin or this and that. We're doing it to take great care of our customers. And it gives everyone something to shoot for. And this is what I love about KPIs. So if you come in here, what you're going to see is, okay, what are our goals for the week? And that's what we're going to rally behind, which I really, really like. Any other thoughts about KPI tracking that you have week over week that really helps the offsite team, which also helps our onsite team? What do you think, April?
Well, the tracking and monitoring really improves over time, which I can definitely vouch on that one. And it also helps with the company's health.
It does.
So with the KPI, when you see the KPI, or if the company have that, it gives you like what is the end goal. So it helps with the company's health in order for us to ensure that we're giving quality to what we do, quality work with our team members. So that's what I like about that. So not just for ourselves, for the team members, but also as a whole for the company.
Exactly. And one last thing, our offsite team gives me my KPIs, which I like. I mean, I know where I need to go, but they give me the numbers. I don't have the time, but B, I also don't have I am not skilled in Excel and Google spreadsheets and pivot tables. I know most people listening to this probably are, but most people who have built DMEs, and you want to go on to what's next and you want to lead other people. Have the offsite team run your numbers for you and hand them to you in really cool formats saying, hey, this is how I'm going to coach so-and-so next. I absolutely love that. So one, if you don't have KPIs, get KPIs for your team, please. If you get stuck, reach out to us. We will help you get them established for your team. Number two, look at them every single year. You need to have leading and lagging indicators for your KPIs. If you don't know what that means, reach out to us. We'll walk you through it. But also last, at Offsite Team Member, we understand the challenges faced by DME, durable medical equipment providers, rehab providers, respiratory business leaders in their quest to find dependable and affordable employees who also know, hey, all of ours already know Brightree as well too, but we can also teach other platforms. We've created a revolutionary workforce solution that resolves this problem, enabling DME, respiratory, and rehab businesses to thrive with a reliable and cost-effective team. So imagine a world where you never have to worry about finding trustworthy employees again. A world where your business operates smoothly with a team that consistently delivers excellence. Hey, our offsite team's here to do that for you. We want to see you succeed wherever you are at in the United States as you run your business. So, hey, if you want to reach out to us, go to offsiteteam.com. Give us a call. Rex will pick the phone up. And you know what? Rex is in the Philippines. You can say, hey, tell me about it. Now, granted, Rex is going to sell you on this, and then he'll set you up with an appointment to talk to me if you want to talk even more. So, hey, does that sound like a plan, April?
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, thank you for listening to Season 2, Episode 2 of the Offsite Team, adjusting your KPIs in the new years. And we look forward to talking to you again next week.